everyone, Sawmill Charlie. Well, welcome back from the North American Honeybee Expo. All the ones who participated at and went out there and hanged out and all at the trade show and all the different conference speaker talks and everything. I'm going to go here and set up the link to be able to somebody to be able to come in. And I know I had a wonderful time out there. And let's see. Here we go. And here we go, StreamYard. Anyway, I'm trying to get it to put it in the chat. It doesn't want to give me to be able to pin it for some reason. There it is. Well, anybody wants to comment, there's the link to come on in. I'm trying to get it to pin, but for some reason it does not want to pin today. Had that problem here recently. But anyway, I had a great time visiting with everybody. Hey, Ricky. And at the convention, seeing a lot of new products and seeing a lot of my subscribers came up to me and said hello and where they were from, and met a whole lot of new creators that was kind of surprising to me that actually they were watching me as much as I was watching them in their videos and stuff. Hey, Vince, and hey, Keith, and Keith was out there, got to meet him in person, and then Randy Tarhill, he was out there, and Grammy, she was in line, seen her, and just Lee, of course, was out there helping out with Ricky, selling product, everything. And it was a really, really super nice event. I was concerned about the location change and all that, but it turned out to be nice. Doesn't have quite the tourism attractions to go to. Yeah, Lee got to meet you. Yeah, actually, we stayed in the same hotel, and our rooms happened to be next door to each other. And here comes Nancy in. She was there working the booth with the Dirt Rooster, and there's Lynn from Raider Baltimore Beekeepers, and there's Sandy, my friend. I got to stop by coming home Sunday. She lives out in Western Maryland, and I called and we stopped in and exchanged honey, and we got to meet each other. And I thought I might have had to stay there, but it was snowing pretty good out there. But luckily I was able to make it back over to the interstate and then go on down towards Cumberland, Maryland, and get a room for the night, make sure to get off the bad roads at night. And all that. And I've been enjoying all the different folks have been putting up their videos on Facebook or on Nobby's webpage, um, along with their still shots and stuff. I've just started myself to make videos. I did do videos out there and some still shots, and I have not been able to had a chance to actually render those out in my editing software. Um, it's been quite busy here at the home place. Everybody, since I was out there, was been sick. So as soon as I got back, I had to get right back to work. And then between that and my beat club, this week was quite busy and all. But that's what's happening. Let's see. Let me see if I can get this thing to. Nope, does not want to. Does not want to. Finally. And there's the pin. It finally pinned, finally. I don't know why it takes that long. But anyway, I had a wonderful time. The first night that got in was Wednesday night. Jeff, we got to meet each other and swap some honey. I did give out quite a bit of 1 pound bottles. I did not participate in I think it was the Tennessee Beekeepers Association, where you would donate and you could pick up other people's honey. Main thing I wanted to do is give out honey to the people that here on the live chat that happened to be there, or anybody else that I happened to meet at the time. And that was it was nice and very successful in doing that. And we like I said, I went around and I did some video work. I also did some single snapshots. It was pretty nice that Wednesday or Thursday morning, there was probably 1,000 to 2,000 people waiting in line, and I was doing some videoing, and then it actually started where I parked. I was getting my camera ready, and there was a fellow sitting in a pickup truck next door to my car, and the window went down, and he told me that he was going to try to look me up inside the conference the first day, which was Thursday afternoon. And he says, "Here you are parking right next door to me." And he introduced himself and where he lived at. And that was really fun. And then I was doing some video work. And then, like I was saying, there was probably a couple thousand people sitting in a line wrapping across the front of the big building. And people were, calling out to me, Sawmill or Sawmill Charlie, and introducing themselves and where they lived and things of that nature. I had quite a few Canadians come up to me, which was really neat. I didn't, they were ones that told me that they really didn't talk in the chat here too much, but they sit back and listen to me every Friday night. And so I asked them, like, did they enjoy the show and did they get any good information about it? And they said that they did enjoy it and they did get some different information and everything. So that's always good to hear from the folks where you meet out at a conference like that. And got to meet some other content creators, and it was kind of interesting to me that, I watched their YouTube channel, and they were actually watching mine too. And so we became good friends and exchanged contact information and all from several of those folks. And all that. And here comes Todd. Hey, Todd.
Hey, what's up, Charlie?
Oh, not much. I was just reading the comments here. So Nancy got her fume board spray confiscated by the TSA.
Oh, geez.
Hey, Ian, good to see you. And
Wow.
so yeah, that's something that actually I bought, and bought some fume board spray out there while I was in the at the conference, and along with I had pre-ordered some Aprivar from Fox. What's it called? Foxhound Bee Supply Company
Mm-hmm.
at a really good price. I think I saved probably. Normally, it's $180 a 60 pack strip. I got it for 100 and a quarter. So that was about what I paid last year when I had a discount through my own personal bee club, where we help our members subsidize their mite treatment program. And
I
I
don't
had
know
bought,
how to get rid of my bionic eye tonight.
huh?
It looks like I
Oh,
have a bionic eye. I just can't
oh
get rid of
yeah,
it. Right?
yeah.
Uh,
And hey, Kim, and hey, Brian. Um, Along with that, I pre-ordered 20 pounds of the global patties with rocket fuel in it, um, and picked that up. And I have Randy wants to know if I ordered my beef free. No, but I did talk to James out in Alberta, Canada, about it with a lengthy conversation this week. As far as he had some modifications done to his unit, and I was wondering whether or not that would be something. One of the things was he had the axles widened, so the stance of the tires would give a much more stable handling when you had multiple honey boxes on there. And so I was watching the video from Boris, and he had this tool that hooked into if you were trying to lift one box up to break the seal, it hooked into that box's handle, and then it hooked into the box handle of below. And it was kind of like a jack, and it actually broke the seal. And I thought that was a pretty good tool to have, because you can have them boxes get sealed up pretty darn good, and you can have one hive tool, and sometimes I have to take two hive tools in order to really pry the boxes apart especially in the beginning of the summer, or the season actually. So I'm and James talked about he had some type of a tool that did the same thing. So he was going to send me some pictures of that. He tried to explain it to me, but I just couldn't quite grasp the visual image in my brain. And so I'm waiting on that. Hopefully he'll have time. He said this weekend, once he gets off from work and stuff, he'll be able to take some pictures and measure the axle widths and stuff like that. And then I'm ready to pull the trigger. I'm gonna get it. I might go ahead with these modifications to the one that I have. I mean, that was one thing I seen Mike Berry when he had this pretty good amount of boxes. It kind of wobbled sideways a little bit here when he hit a chuck hole or something. But that's where I'm at with it right now. Yes, I'm very close to pulling the trigger on that. So and that was one of the things I see Mike Berry at the conference, and I had talked to him last year about it, and he had just gotten his, I believe it was last year. Yeah, that's right, Ian. I'm a visual person. I'm a visual learner. A lot of folks here said, "Well, why haven't you gotten this hive lifting machine?" And I like to actually, if I would have loved to have Boris come to the conference and actually be able to physically manipulate the machine, do a demonstration of picking up some honey supers, let's say weight it down with some, weightlifter weights or something like that, and all that. Bruce Brown. And Bruce, I've been needing to call you up, and it's just been one thing after another. I want to talk to you about it also, since you have one. And but I'm getting real close to going ahead and get in. Anyway, like I say, back with Mike Berry, I told him what I was trying to do with it. We're lifting up the supers, be able to get underneath and either put under super or get into the brood chamber box and that kind of thing. If Charlie gets a hive lifter, let me put this up. Now I want everybody in the chat to look at this. Make sure that Tim is a man of his word.
You know what's going to happen.
If I get the lifter, then Hannah finally gets her dishwasher that she's been wanting for over 2 years, I believe, since they've been on the chat.
You know what he's going to do?
Huh?
You know what he's going to do, right?
What's that?
He's going to start cleaning the dishes. He's going to be the dishwasher.
So, anyway, that's funny. But
Ben Schmidt, no, I do not have a hive lifter.
And then Brian's going to get a bottle of Kraken and all. But anyway, I got to talking to Mike and Mike Berry, and he said that this style of lifter, because I had talked to Joey, and Joey's at the conference. He has a lifter that it's more of a sort of a dolly style lifter. And I was like, okay, which one suits me? I can see the goods, the pros and the cons and whatever. And so he said that this model, the B3 model, that was one of the things he stated. He has the B2, which doesn't have the hydraulic lift cylinder. He said he would have wished he'd have bought the B3, which I had already determined that's the one that I would go and get. And so that was something good that I got out of Mike. And also he said it's designed where you can lift up the boxes, you can under super, put a queen excluder in, or go into your brood chamber area and do whatever you need to do in there and stuff like that. So that pretty much settled my questions and everything. And then I talked an hour or more with James, and we talked about, the machine did have some issues, but he had overloaded it. It wasn't the machine's problem, and which I knew that. And but it does the job. So and he's running off some pretty good rough terrain. I was always worried about the diameter of the wheels. And I come up with all these different ideas and stuff and different concerns, because there's a beekeeper about an hour from the house here. I think he bought one of those American-made hive lifters that you see advertised, which wasn't at Nobby. And I'm like, if you have something like that, it's bee related, you would think that manufacturer or that company would have been at that trade show. Yeah, just get the easy loader, Brian. Yeah, well, I don't quite have that many hives. And Sandy, that's exactly the reason I want to buy it, is to be able to lift up all the supers and make it easier to get into that brood chamber and do my rotation of cap brood frames and the empty frames in there, so the queen will not swarm on me and all that. So anyway, he had bought that American made one. The diameter of the wheels were small. Well, the larger the diameter of the wheels, the easier it rolls across rough terrain. So in turn, and then he didn't get the electric model. He got the hand crank model. Well, that was a big mistake. And the keeper's hive was slick. Yeah, that's a friend of mine, George, that came up with that idea. Actually, it's an old idea. Brad actually did that same situation. And if you and think about with Brad and Ian, where they have the three-way pallet with the nukes, the six frame nukes, and then they put a column up the center. That's basically the same concept of the keeper's hive that was at the show down there. It's the same identical type of concept. Um, let's see, Amos. Let's see what we got here. Steve says they were at ABF. It would be tough to do both. 300 people at ABF, 3,000 people at the North American Honeybee. Poor decision. My poor business decision, the way I see it. Unless they're local to where they were at in Baton Rouge. But anyway, then he had to modify it, put bigger wheels, modify it to put electricity on it, which he didn't, because he didn't buy it. And those were some of the things that I questioned about, the B3 Hive Lifter, which I think have been satisfied as far as I'm concerned. So yes, it's in the very near future for me to be ordering it and all that. And there's Pastor Larry there. Here comes. There she is, the grand winner of the Cowan feeding
Owen, yeah.
self-propelled power cart. And if you all haven't seen it on the chat here, just go to Larabi's Bees YouTube channel, and he did a video of it. Him along with the Cowan Manufacturing Unit company and all that. So I know that George brought it back from the conference. Have you received it or got it home yet?
Yeah. I went down. I went down yesterday. I rented a trailer from Tractor Supply, which I didn't know, and it was $15 to rent the trailer for 4 hours.
Yeah,
So it was a nice little trailer. It was a nice little deal, and so me and Louie, the dog, went down and brought it home, and I charged up all the batteries. But question for you. I don't want to leave those batteries in my garage, in my unheated garage.
Yeah, because
right?
that usually
Or does it matter?
Yeah, cold usually kind of degrades batteries, like a car battery. Same thing.
All right, I can bring them in. I just had them out there because I was gonna play with it a little bit, but this week is supposed to be.
Now, are they I'll say Milwaukee batteries, or are they special type of batteries?
You know what? I don't know what they are. It wasn't familiar to me. I can go get one in a minute.
Okay.
Because I don't know.
But
red and white.
Yeah, to let everybody know in the chat, very heavy duty cart, all steel. It had like tractor tires on it with the ribs in order to give good gripping power in the dirt. It's got a 25-gallon tank on it for feeding your sugar water with a pump. So, and you got a hose with a nozzle on the end of it. And just like I do with my pickup truck model, she can go right down the line, feed without any buckets. And as far as, pouring anything with a bucket, lifting and things like that. And I said, does it have enough room for, putting boxes or equipment on it? Or
yeah, I can put, so the thing is anyway, so Larabi has a video with the guy that built my cart. So the other thing is I have a golf cart that I have is all my bee stuff. So this feeder cart is only to feed. Like it has a camo, it's not the right word.
ammo box.
Yeah, ammo box. Well, I'm not going to be doing mite treatments when I have that cart out. you
Mhm.
know, and then it has a place for my smoker. Once in a while, I use a smoker when I feed, but not really. So the cart is like primarily like you can't, you know, you can't cross treatment or application process in that little vehicle. So I'm going to take those things off and just put them on my golf cart because I really
Well,
need that ammo
like
for
you
my.
say, you bought it mostly for feeding,
Mhm,
and then you also have the golf cart, which is your main work vehicle that you can take all your tools
mhm.
and boxes and whatever else you need to be able to transport. And of course, it's a lot. I'm sure that thing doesn't, the wagon doesn't move too awfully fast, but you know,
Oh, it's a little faster than I could keep up with it. I mean,
really,
it can go if you really,
okay.
but I'm thinking if you have a little grade or something, you got weight on it, it's
Mhm.
gonna buff back a little bit. But so I can also use that for my yard, like doing mulch and soil and flower and garden and stuff. So I will use that card a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I know it wasn't cheap as far as price wise, but it's like the hive lifter for me. It's like
Hmm.
tell people say the people will say, um, it's expensive the hive lifter, or like Ian there, it's the same thing as his dad told him. If you can buy anything to save your back, especially your lower back, it's worth it. And I've had back issues over the years, and uh, it's no fun. And it's like I always tell people, I said, "Well, can you fix your back for $1,000?" And they're saying no. I says no, and I says you can have $1,000,000, and if you damage your back, there's not enough money in the world or a doctor that I know of that can actually fix your back. That puts you back originally from what you started out with. So that's the way I feel about that kind of products and stuff like that and all. But no, I'm glad that you got it. I mean, somebody did outbid you on that, and then you were telling me that they were
Yeah, when
called.
they called them, they were on their way to Alabama. He
Oh,
said, "Oh, I didn't think I was going to win." So then I got back, so then came back to me and I couldn't back out of it because one, I needed the cart. I really needed the cart. And two, I wasn't going to do that to Cayman. It's just trying to figure out how to get it home. But then that all worked out. So,
mm,
yeah, it all worked out.
I'm West Clip wanting anybody try a hive lifter on a polyhive. I haven't done it. I'm not really sure whether that would. I don't know whether the little arms would click in there deep enough. It might tear the sides right off the side of that thing. I'm not sure. And Stafford or Mike, he's from Stafford's from
Oregon.
Oregon. Welcome. He's way out there. And what else? I was just trying to keep up with the chat here. So, what's happening out in California there, Todd? Anything good with the bees? About what's the weather like?
It's been well, cold for California the last 3-4 days, at least around here. Um, Storms coming in tomorrow late afternoon, so I'll get something done. I don't know what I'm going to do except just look around, see if I need to do anything. I don't anticipate doing anything. I
Mhm.
got off of work a little bit early. I snuck out of the office and I had some boxes with some drawn comb that I completely forgot about. So I ran my butt out there and um, I'd it was like three boxes. So I put those in the truck and took them home and put them on mothball crystals in the backyard. So
Mhm.
I've got, oh, I don't know. I have over 200 drawn combs sitting on crystals right now. So I'll take those out in about 2 weeks, and then I'll let them air out for about a month, and then good to go.
Right. What you got, Nance? Got unmute yourself. Speed super handy.
Hmm.
I've
Yeah.
never
It's
heard of it.
super, it's probably super generic, but I mean, that's okay. It's
Let's see the connection part of it. All right, so
connection part. Where's
Right there
wait?
on the
Oh,
top of the
here.
box.
Here you go.
okay.
Yeah.
And what was the writing? It was 20. The voltage and all that stuff. I didn't
48.
catch all that. 48 volts. That's 2 amp hours. 88.8 watt hours. That's no drill battery. That's a specialized battery. I'll have to say.
Yeah.
And then this is someone mentioned that the sprayer has a different motor battery, and it's correct.
Mhm.
This is a much smaller, and this is it's much heavier than my other batteries for yard equipment. And this doesn't have really any writing. It says power share, but
Well, I guess you'll have to go to Cowan in order to get any replacements when it's needed.
Yeah.
well, where are they from again? What state?
Utah.
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 Mhm.
Utah? Wow.
Cowan?
So
Yeah, I
this
think
this cart
Cowan's out of
already
Utah.
I don't know.
this cart has a
The
lot
bee
of
state.
miles on it.
It's the beehive state.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna call Nathan, I think was his name, Nathan Orr. Just let him
Did
know
they
I
give
have
you
it.
did they give you chargers for those?
Yes,
Okay.
they're in the garage. Yep. They gave me a charger. This has a little different charger.
Mhm.
But all the chargers fit and
Uh,
they work, they charge them. So I did that.
all right. Lee's already looked it up for you. It's $140 for that battery.
Oh, jeez.
They,
Well, the question is, I
well,
wonder how long it's going to last. You know,
I'll let you know.
I mean,
Oh, the batteries?
yeah,
Yeah,
like how many charges it's going to take over a certain amount of time. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's also manual. I can just push it. So my apiary is down from my house, downgrade. So when I'm loaded and that tank is full, I'm gonna be just, coasting down. I mean, I'm probably gonna turn the motor on a little bit, but not much. And then my apiary, I have like 5 or 6 hives in a section with multiple sections all over. So, I just go to one and then coming back up, it'll be empty. So that's one that'll probably make those batteries last a little longer here.
Yeah, it'll. And then the thing of it is, you'll be going down loaded, and you'll pump off, and coming back
Mhm.
up, it ain't going to drain your batteries to get up the hill
Right.
because it's
And
not going to.
I'm coming from mixing in a 5-gallon bucket in my utility sink, pouring it into 1-gallon jugs, putting it on my golf cart and going down. I can only do 6 at a time. And I was running, my highest was 53 hives. So, I mean, this is a game changer for me. Now I'm down to 27, but 40, I think if sound like a beekeeper, but yeah, this will make things a lot different for me.
oh, yeah.
Well, you had 50 some hives, and it just way too much work, Nancy. You're all by yourself on that, aren't you?
Yeah, and I was working full time, which I'm not anymore. I had enough equipment for 53 hives. I kind of was curious to see what my location would allow me for forage. Like
Mhm.
what could I max out at here? Space wise, I've got plenty of space, but what's my forage look like here? So, I mean, I got up to 53 hives. I didn't sustain it for more than a summer, or maybe not even. But yeah, it was able to feed 53. But I think I want to just kind of stay at 40 and overwinter 20, something like that.
Yeah, I know I got up to about, I think it was like 40, 45, something like that. And it just, you just worked yourself to death all weekend to keep up with everything.
Yeah, it's like you said that one time, Charlie, this isn't fun anymore. There was one year that we were talking and you said to me, this isn't fun anymore. And I think around 53 hives, I came back up and said, this isn't fun anymore. And I knew that, I was at an impasse or something.
That's right. And I got down from that to 32 hives, which are a combination of 10 frame hives and nukes. And I've been running that for the last several years. And then I'm going to change it up because of the amount of honey sales. I had a beekeeper right up the road I used to sell nukes to, and he's went out of business, and he's been pointing his customers towards me. My honey sales have went up. I'm already sold out on my nukes for this year.
Nice.
They're all spoken for. Not that I have a lot, but and all that. And so I'm going to, hey,
Yeah.
There's the
I'm going,
dishwasher.
yeah, there's the dishwashing man.
I got a screenshot to that conversation.
Anyway, I'm going to scale up my honey production hives by 2 and get rid of 4 of my nukes. And it's still be 30 to 30 hives between the two. And, but I find that you can go out to a honey hive, you can go and, you do your thing in the honey hives, then you harvest your honey, and then all you got to do is bottle it and then just, grab the money and hand the bottle of honey over, and you don't have to worry about nothing. Whereas with nukes, you get, this year I've got several people that have been beekeepers for quite a few years, and they know what to do to take care of their new bees that they're getting. Whereas I got a couple of, that's where you have to sit there and train them a crash course. All right, you're going to go home. You're going to put them in the box today, not a week from now and whatever. Don't let them melt and die on you because I'm not going to replace them. And that kind of, I put a lot of work in those hives, get the queens up and running and nice queens and stuff. And I hate, that kind of stuff to happen. So I'm kind of balancing things out. So the number of 30, 32 is just right for me. Plus, in the summertime, I'll have another at least 20 mating boxes for queens, usually.
If you got an easy loader, you'd be done in 15 minutes.
What's that?
You'd be done with your hive inspections in 15 minutes. If you got
easy loader?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what, $50,000, $80,000, I guess.
Yeah,
Something
but you'd be
like
done
that.
in 15 minutes.
Yeah, but that, So,
Next
so
thing
how's
you know, that whole field behind you would be full of boxes.
I don't know. I like where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And I like, I don't know. I like, looking at the bees and that kind of stuff and all. It's a good number for me. 30, right around 30, 35. So how's Tim and Hannah tonight?
We're doing well, Charlie. How about y'all, brother?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I'm still, I don't know, in upbeat mode from the conference. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
it was
Sounds like
a 7-day vacation from the mill, which was wonderful. And we could if we wanted to, I could have left early Sunday morning and I could probably been home by Sunday evening, not too late. But it's like I really didn't want to come home. I just said, well, let's just leave late in the morning and go as far as we can and then get a room. And that's what we did. And then we also, like I said, Icy Mountain Honey, which is Sandy, stopped and met her and her husband, and actually met her little grandbaby that she was babysitting. And we exchanged honey and was able to talk for about a half an hour. And then we had to leave because of the weather. And luckily, we got everything taken care of getting into the hotel room before anything bad would happen as far as the car getting stuck or whatever. But I had a great time out there. I'll go back next year. I'll go back to the same hotel next year. And then this year, what it really made it more, I'll say, special for me is that starting Wednesday night, Ricky Rourke had put out over his live Thursday night chat that he was having, if you were going to be there at that time, he was having a dinner, and there was about 30 of us that showed up. A lot of the folks here from the chat were there, and the folks that work for Ricky and all that. And we had a good time that night. And and then that was Wednesday night. And then we had Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. Each night we went out to dinner with different groups of people. One of the nights, along with Ricky Rourke and his friends and different ones that I asked, like Brian from Flower Street and 33 Mile Bees, Philip, and I don't know, the list just goes on and on. I think Joey was in there, and we were at the Cracker Barrel, that was another 20 some people sitting down for supper. And one other night was just the four of us, Lee and his wife, and 33 Mile Bees and myself. And then the last night was, there were six of us. We all, William from out in Oklahoma, he happened to be standing in the waiting line. I said, come on in. We got another seat open here for this one of these six seat round tables that they have at Cracker Barrel. And we had, let's see, Brian from Flower Street was there. I think 33 Mile Bees was there. A member from my own home bee club was there, and Brian, who's a friend of mine out of Maryland, who's trying to become a commercial beekeeper. He has about 100 hives. He was there. And RTX, Philip from Texas, ate supper with us that night. So that, every night we had a lot of the folks here from the chat, which was just made it even better. You met up with everybody during the daytime and seeing all the speakers that you wanted to see and all the new toys that you want to buy, and then get to go to supper with everybody that you see here on the chat and all. So it was a lot of fun for me.
Well, two things on that, Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
I got to admit something to you. I was telling Hannah last night after watching you on Ricky, buddy Charlie is pumped, son. That joker is fired up. All right.
I am.
You still got that this evening.
Charlie is rejuvenated after his vacation.
But that's awesome. We didn't make it like, more willing to make it next year.
But next year you're coming, you say.
Yes, just seeing you, which you could tell from everybody else too, still doing their videos, putting their, their stuff out, of being up there, that, man, the atmosphere just seemed like it was on fire, but it was just a good time for folks. Everybody just.
Well, it was like, I guess it was last night, was Pastor Larry who was on the chat, I think it was. And he said, well, between him and Ricky, they were talking about the same situation where it was like a homecoming type of atmosphere. And everybody there wasn't any bad situations happen. Everybody was happy. Everybody was friendly. Everybody would help everybody else out. It was, everybody was having fun, checking the vendor area out. Everybody was learning a whole bunch of new stuff from all the different classes being held. And, it was, just a good time. And it's like just this huge, big family finally was able to get together. It's just like us here tonight. We've got 90 people on here. That's not the most, but I'll say usually it's 60, but here it's 90 since the conference, 91 now. And, it's just, we get to see each other in person and really, get to know each other even better. And this community that we have here on this computer screen, this is where it all starts. And then we rendezvous at the Northeast Honeybee Convention and all that, which just makes it so wonderful and everything.
Well, to my second point. All right.
Mhm.
You shop around. You take your time, Charlie, on that lifter. Make sure you get what you want, and it's going to work for you out there in that yard. Don't let people. Don't let people push you.
Charlie, I'll help you do any research you need to figure out which one you want.
Don't listen to that. She don't know how to work.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it there, Hannah. I'll be buying that thing. And I'm going to send you an instant message, Now while I'm getting ready to buy this thing, you need to go out to the local appliance store and check all those nice new units out. And see it.
Did that today.
She sure did.
Oh, you weren't today. Look at that. Look at that. Went right out to the local appliance store and checked out all the models and the colors. And maybe you need one of them nice new stainless steel look,
Did you get the measuring tape out and measure everything up yet?
And, you got a husband there that knows how to, cut that thing right into the cabinetry.
I got it planned. All we got to do is take off a cabinet door. Well, there will be a little bit of trim out, but that baby will slide right in there.
That's
Very
right.
little.
And got the plumbing. It's close to probably the sink where you can hook right into that local plumbing.
It's right by the sink.
That's right. There you go.
Tim's like,
Let me tell you what I think's going on here. I think Charlie, y'all are emailing each other. Charlie's sending you pictures of Hive lifters.
I went to Lowe's.
You sending pictures of dishwashers.
Running a sale now.
That's enough of that. We need to get on to this beekeeping. We should come on here to talk about.
Tim's going, let's switch topics.
Tim is hoping Charlie forgets all about a hive lift.
I just want Charlie to get, I know he's been doing this for a while and he don't need to be rushed, y'all.
You can do another couple years of research. Is that what you're saying?
I'm rooting for you, Charlie.
Well, I mean, make sure that's what you want is what I'm saying. Don't get on in 6 months talking about, well, I wish I'd have listened to Tim and shopped around a little bit longer instead of getting this piece of junk that I got.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's
good
stuff.
Yes, sir.
We got this, Charlie.
But all kidding aside, Charlie, it's wonderful hearing.
All the good.
Yeah, well, for me, when I go on vacation, some folks like to go to the beach and sit on the beach or whatever. That's just not my cup of tea, I guess you would say. I don't mind going to the beach for the day or something like that, but having a destination that has something that I'm really interested in, and then being around 3,000 other people that have the same likes as, i.e. beekeeping, and then looking at all the different types of machinery and stuff like that, or listening to the different speakers that are good speakers and all that that was really nice. Now, one thing I do like about this year's conference is that last year it would start like at 8 o'clock. And I'm like, this year it started at 9 o'clock and went to, I think, to 6. To me, that was much better, to the fact that I didn't have to get up at the crack of dawn I'm trying to be on vacation, but I don't want to miss anything either.
Yeah.
And being
Get
able
back to
where
the
you
hotel
where
room
you
at
could
a
get up a
reasonable
little
time.
bit later, and then you could go to breakfast and get something to eat. And then the location of where the hotel was is right next door to the complex. And the gate number 4 was right there at the hotel. So you just got well, 2 things you could do. If you didn't want to pay the parking fee, which was $13 a day, the hotel had a shuttle bus, all of them that actually, I think, and they all dropped people off over there at the conference, and it didn't cost you anything to get there. And then I went ahead and drove because I had gear, I had stuff to pick up and whatever. And I just went ahead and paid the fee, but it was, right around, literally within 100 feet of the hotel to get into the place. So I really enjoyed the time, the opening and closing of it. As far as 9 o'clock opening, and I think Thursday it's opened up at 12:30. There was when I got there was 1,000 to 2,000 people in line, and that was at 12 o'clock. So they must have been there an hour ahead of time. But when they opened the doors up, it's like Cayman said on one of his, I guess it was the end talk for the day for the whole conference. Him and Bob Benny, they got 1,000 people within the first 15 to 20 minutes through the door, ready to go. And they were organized. Where 2 or 3 people were standing there. As long as you had your ticket paper with the little emoji thing, they scanned that, walked right straight through. Hey, Darren. And
Darren?
you went down through the tables there. They had the table set up where it was all alphabetically arranged. So, for my last name is Thomas. So I went right down where the S and on, S, where the letter S starts and on, that's where my name tag would be. They usually had, I think, Natalie Summers was there helping out, to speed things up. They would be looking, what's your name? Okay, let me look for it while you're looking for it. And here it is. And when you scanned your first, they gave you there was a lanyard on the table. So you picked up that, put it around your neck, went down, got your ID card with your name on it and the state that you're from, hooked into it. And some other folks gave you a yellow Tennessee bag with all the little schedules and things like that in it. And you were off the way you go, wherever you wanted to go and everything. So it was like bing, bang, boom, and you're in. It wasn't taking forever and all that. And everything was totally smooth. I really didn't see Cayman the first day at all. I was wondering whether he was even there. But, they had personnel there. It was probably hired through the event hall as security. Cayman had other folks introducing the speakers at each one of the conference classroom halls. I would say on average, 500 to 600 people were in each one of those halls on every speaker, if not more. And they had 2 big screens on both. They had a screen on both sides of the pulpit when they were talking, and everything's being recorded. So I will be getting anybody who bought a ticket will be able to get I think it's a password and a key in order to download the videos of all the speakers, the ones that you didn't go see or you missed or whatever.
Charlie, I was astonished by the size of that building and even those where they were doing the speaking, like that. You could have fit a football field in those buildings. It was.
Wouldn't you say that you could possibly put 1,000? They had enough seats sitting.
Oh yeah.
To put 1,000 people in every classroom.
Yeah.
Easy. And then I was in the one with Marla Spivak. She was speaking. I had never seen. I know who she is. I've watched videos of her. I wanted to, see her in person. And I'm gonna say the whole place was pretty much full. There was long rows to where there might have been a few open seats in the middle where people didn't want to crawl over top of other people. And some of them would just, okay, I'm going to either stand in the back across the wall or down the sides a little bit. I mean, there was seating there for them to sit, but
yeah.
Are
you talking about the one that she did on Propolis? The
Propolis talk.
Yeah, I was in that one. Yeah, that one.
And it was that place was full, wasn't it, Brian?
Yeah, it was.
It was full when she was in there. And then she was speaking about that. Dr. Larry Connors was speaking about, I think, sustainable beekeeping. I kind of stuck my head in there. That place was packed out with people in there. The only downside as far as the speaker halls was the hall number, I'll call it number 3. The 2 that were side by side were designed for speaking. There was no echoes when they used their microphone system. The one that was at the end where came and wound up the conference there, it was kind of like that first room down at Hive Life. It was kind of like a baseball or basketball court area where it was high ceilings. And when they used their microphones, it kind of echoed in there, which for me, it was a little harder to understand what they were saying. And then also in all these classrooms, they had at least 2 mic stands out in the, I'll say, the little hallways or aisles, I guess you'd call them, where when they asked for questions, you could get up, go to the microphone, everybody could hear you, ask whatever question you wanted, and the speaker would, answer your question if they could. And, so there was interaction, even that many people in these classrooms, there was interaction between you and the speaker if you wanted to ask any questions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Was there several things that you were there some things you was able to actually pick up off of, like to take home and say, okay,
as far as techniques or whatever? Well, Marla, everybody, it's just like this, the box company. What is it, Nancy? That new box company that Greg and all them guys.
Propola?
Oh, Propolock.
Yeah,
Propolo.
That's a new buzzword for their boxes.
Drove the box.
Basically, they roughen the inside of the box so the bees will naturally put propolis all over the interior of the box, which makes a sanitized envelope within the hive. They're trying to mimic what they do in a hollow tree, which the bees do that kind of stuff. And that's been known for I don't know, the last 7 or 8 years. But what Marla talked about is that she showed the different stages or how they were experimenting with that, where like I have lumber here that I sell that it's left, the bandsaw has left their marks on it. It's sort of fuzzy rough, but it's not real deep gouges in it like a circular saw. And the bees kind of propolized that a little bit. And then somebody else did a roughness where it was kind of like, it reminded me of corduroy pants with like little rounded over things where they scratched it and where it's real uniform and in lines. And the bees, did a little bit of propolis on that. What they found was
Want me to get off?
when it was
I'm ready. I was gonna watch something on Netflix.
a deep gouge.
You want to stay on? I can watch something on Netflix, but it's gonna bother you.
There we go. Where they gouged the box sides real deep. I don't know how they did it, with some type of machine that the bees actually really took to that and propolized it. And it's supposed to, help them guard against the diseases and viruses out there. And then one thing I did take, that was something I got out of her talk. The other thing is that everybody, propolis, is it something that the bees make, or is it something that bees gather? And it actually is the rosins and stuff from trees that they gather. That's actually what the propolis is. And it is the medical value of it is actually from the rosin of the tree. The tree has some type of medicinal purpose additives in that rosin, and that bees happen to gather it, and it happens to work for them that way. Are we leaving, Nancy?
Yep.
All right. Well,
Yep, I gotta go.
Bye, Nancy.
I gotta
Alright.
go. So yeah, it was nice talking to you. I'm sure I'll see you soon.
I had a question. I think you asked about pricing or whatever for EAS.
Oh, yeah. Is anybody going to EAS in Maryland? In
I don't know. I mean,
August?
that's about 45 minutes from my house where it's being held.
Yeah.
I've got a little brochure about it. But they really haven't came out anything about schedule, what they're going to do, how much, and all
When
that
is it?
kind of stuff.
What's the date on that? I wouldn't mind.
I don't remember. They were at the. I had a little thing from them, a little flyer. But yeah, I want to go because that's not far. I mean, it's about 2 hours, I guess. I really didn't Google it yet,
Yeah,
but
it's August. It's August 5th, 6th. Well, August 5th through the 9th. It's a week-long thing. And the first, it's going to be held at Turf Valley Country Golf Resort. And, they haven't really come out and said.
I'd consider it now that I'm a veteran on these beekeeping expos, and I met Nancy. She first thing she did was reach out for my credit card, and then I made her shake my hand first. So you probably don't even remember, do you, Nancy?
Oh yeah, I absolutely remember you. I asked you where you lived in Pennsylvania because I didn't see many people from Pennsylvania there, but it's just I didn't see them. But my tag didn't say Pennsylvania, so nobody could reach out to me either. But yeah, Darren, I did ask you, and then I put it together who you were on Charlie's jet.
Right, and they have 4 keynote speakers: Michelle Finkelin from Montana State, honeybee host pathogens interactions. Jeff Pettis, which I've heard of him. He's out of Salisbury, Maryland, which is on the eastern shore of Maryland. Known researcher on honeybee behavior. Sam Droege, which is another name I've recognized, wildlife biologist, works for the United States Geological Services, native bee inventory and monitoring program. And says conference sessions so far on viruses, new ABF vaccine, American foul brood, accessible beekeeping, queen rearing, photography, and varroa. I know that Steve McDaniels is probably going to teach photography and beekeeping. He does a lot of that stuff. So far, I'm not. I want to go because it's in my back door. But let me check out the price first. And then secondly, what I've read off there right there tonight doesn't excite me at all for the most part. So that's kind of where I'm at with EAS and all that. I think Nancy, she popped off already. But
let me go ahead.
Of course, I'm comparing it to the Honeybee Expo, which is pretty hard to compare to, as far as.
That's interesting you say that, Charlie, because to follow up on what Tim was saying about what did you take home from it, and I actually ended up leaving early, so I didn't get to see all the presentations that I wanted to, but I felt like most of that was like first, second year beekeeping stuff. I mean, I'm not saying that I wasn't impressed, but I guess I'm being like a
No, I agree with
It's
you.
negative now, but like,
I
that was
agree
the
with
thing.
if you really sit down and think about it, people say, well, like the information type of thing. A lot of it's rehashed
Yeah.
over the years. All right, propolis thing. We've talked about that for the last 5 or 6 years, at least since I've been around in the bees. Varroa mites. Everybody talks about varroa mites. We've been talking about it for 15, 20 years.
As far as I'm concerned, Randy Oliver is the Varroa mite man, not,
Yeah.
and
But has he really come up with anything really new? Not really. It's like the first day we had, what was the guy's? He was extended relief oxalic acid for Varroa. Well, you can't do that anyway illegally.
right. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's nice to know information, but I get into a situation myself where when it comes to mites, I already have a mite treatment program that I know it works. For my area, for me. I mean, somebody like Tim and Hannah down with the environment that they have. I don't know that environment. They don't have a winter.
Right.
And they have extreme heat and humidity. So trying to find a product or a way of treating effectively without killing your bees is tough for their area and stuff. And I mean, Todd's the same way. You really don't have a winter. We got a background noise, Joey, or is that somebody?
It's not me.
I don't have kids. They all moved out.
Lucky.
So Greg Rogers, that's right. That's who was talking about extended relief. I didn't go to his program. I was going to go to his program, but I had too much fun in the trade show at that time.
Did you see the guy from Florida? I can't think of his name. He's a professor. He's not an entomologist, but he did the oxalic acid, and he was like referring to himself as a oxalic acid man, and like everything that he did was done like by Randy Oliver like years and years ago. Like that's like, I guess
was he a speaker there?
Yeah, he was a speaker. It was the ins and outs of oxalic acid, I believe.
Was that what it's called?
I believe so. That's what it was.
Well, then you had Dr. Cameron Jack. Now I've met him and actually questioned him.
I think that was the guy I think it was Cameron Jack that
okay,
actually.
well, Dr. Cameron Jack, he's out of the out of Florida State Bee Lab. He was here at Maryland March 2 years ago. And my question to him was, well, when did you do this experiment? Well, they did it in January in Florida. I said, all right. I'm not sure just the location of the lab, but that's where it was. University of Florida. But then the second thing right out of his mouth was, well, that's like in Maryland, the weather comparison of weather, it would have been in September in Maryland. Well, you might as well call it summertime for me. And I'm like, he was talking about the effectiveness of it. It wasn't that effective. And I'm like, well, he was saying oxalic acid wasn't really that effective. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. The only thing that I got out of your experiment here is that you proved that oxalic acid is more effective in the upper states where we have winter and where the brood is less, which gives you a higher mite kill. Where oxalic acid is more non-effective down in the southern states where they don't have a winter and they're not broodless or 90% broodless, let's say. I don't think any hive is really 100% broodless most of the time. Mm-hmm. And that's what I took away from his conference up here in Maryland. And, like I say, you have to, I think oxalic acid vapor can be a great knockdown, a real quick knockdown if you're overrun with mites. But I don't know. I mean, when it comes to like everybody in the deep South, I can't tell you what to use. I'm not sure what
Yeah.
would be effective.
Yeah, I guess like your point, like you have to put it in perspective, from what your location is, and when you're treating and what other treatments you're doing, and
Well, since you were at the last night of our dinner we had at Cracker Barrel, I think it was one of the folks on the table said that one of the speakers mentioned me in their presentation. Was it him? I was wondering whether it was him or not.
No, I didn't hear that, but I heard you mentioned a lot. So I that's one thing I was going to bring up, not to change the subject, but just I had a lot
by speakers.
No, by people like that I met like at the hotel and like on the shuttle and all that. So you're and I don't want to say that I heard a speaker mention you, but it might have been somebody asked a question and your name might have been mentioned. I don't want to say for sure, but I heard Sawmill Charlie so much that I was wondering, I was going to ask you to watch your subscribers because I thought it has to go up over the next couple of weeks.
Well, we're at 90, 91, 93 here tonight, which is about 30 more folks more than what we normally have.
Almost every conversation I had, Sawmill Charlie came up, like literally, and I actually met more people. Like I had a whole list of people like from the chat that I wanted to meet, and I didn't meet a lot of them actually. I ended up meeting more people, just strangers, just like I said, like sitting in presentations at the hotel, at the lounge, or on the shuttle bus. And your name came up every time, and the people who like never heard of you were like, "Who's that?" Sawmill. One guy was like, "What did he thought we were saying slow-mo Charlie." And I said, "No, it's not slow-mo Charlie. It's Sawmill Charlie." And so he said he was going to check out your chat. But yeah, I hope they do, because I met a lot of really good people like that. I'd love to see him on the chat.
Well, that's great. I'm glad that you told me about that. That really.
You'll be a speaker.
You'll
be a speaker.
Yeah,
a speaker. Okay, yeah. Well, we can do single brood chamber management. Yeah. I can tell you all about that. And just like I said last night on Ricky's channel, I because of using Apis Biologic in the hives and the explosion of bees that I witnessed this past spring, I'm like, I've got to completely change my method of getting into those hives and going from a winter configuration to a summer honey production configuration without putting as many bees up into the air or having bees drip all over the ground, which I don't particularly care for, because you don't want to step on them and you don't want them to get lost in the grass and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be, I'm going to really try to do some really good detailed video of how to set all that up, what to expect and everything.
You better be careful, because they might invite you to next year's Nobby. You might be speaking.
Hey, I guess I'm going to have to start taking some pictures and make some kind of a PowerPoint presentation of. And I'll.
Hey guys, I got to jump off here. I have a dinner date tonight.
Oh, really?
Woo-hoo.
Yeah. Well, don't get excited. It's with my youngest daughter, so nonetheless, it's a dinner date. So what's that?
Y'all enjoy yourself.
Yeah, we're gonna get some barbecue. So everyone have a good weekend.
You too.
Todd.
Talk to you guys later.
All right.
Charlie, did you go to Paul Kelly? Did you see Paul Kelly's single brood chamber?
Oh, yeah, I did.
That was the one I wanted to see, and I missed it. I left early Saturday, so I didn't get to see it. But how was that? Like, was it?
I had watched. I have studied him and watched these videos and stuff, and something that was. This past season, I was listening to, watching Ian, and I talked with Brad, and, I've often, and also James, and they go in and they'll pull a nuke off, kind of push back the population of that hive. And they put the queen excluder on. They put a whole pile of honey supers on, and they make all the kind of, they got a lot of, when you got canola, there's a freight train of honey coming in, and they don't see me now. Doug was on last night. Doug said that, he's got 300 plus hives, and he says, yes, they some of them do swarm, because of the amount of hives they have. They can only do so much when it comes to management of swarm management. And, I've always had it in my mind that, they always say, well, if you give the bees enough space, then they won't swarm, then i.e. honey supers. And Philip says, I can speak on the ins and outs at dining at Cracker Barrel, which I ate 3 times in a row there. Well, let me just comment on that. It was across the road from the hotel, and we, that's a problem with the area that we're in at that place, is that as far as I know, there's not a lot of restaurants that are close by and all that, but that's where we ate because it was convenient is what it amounted to. But back to the swarming thing, they seem to be able to do that and not have a lot of little to none as far as swarming goes. And so this past spring, I tried that. I said, okay, bees are all in the bottom 2 box, put all the honey supers on, 3 or 4 honey supers on. I came back a couple weeks later. I dug into my, hey, Carl, I dug into my brood chamber area, and then sure enough, there's some swarm cells on top of my frames, or on the bottom of the frames, I mean. And I said, well, this is not working for me. So I'm going back to my management practice that I already know that works. And that is to go into the brood box for single brood chamber management, pull out at least half of the cap brood that is 95% or more capped on both sides. Take that out and put in a drawn comb that's empty. Then restack everything up with the queen excluder, the honey supers, and then last box up on top, I'm gonna call it a brood box, and I put all that cap brood up there with no bees on it. And if there's any other frames that are just open comb, I have comb that's for just honey supers and comb for just the brood chambers. I pull that brood comb out of there, and I put foundation up there to fill the box out. Well, the brood up top, it emits a smell, and it will draw the nurse bees and the other bees up through those honey supers up to that brood to cover it up so it'll hatch. So now you've got that, more or less, that top box is a bait hive. It draws the bees up into the top of the box and lets the brood chamber thin out a little bit as far as the amount of worker bees and nurse bees. And because she has a place to lay, because you put empty comb in, let's say three or 4 or 5 frames of comb in, she doesn't swarm because she's got a place to lay. And then the bees upstairs, the comb that will finally hatch out in a week or so, you got your population of your beehive keeps increasing without any swarm potential, and you have more foragers, and in turn, you're going to pretty much double your honey production when you do all that.
How often do you do that, Charlie?
I go in there and look about every 2 weeks.
You move them up, up every 2 weeks?
Huh?
You move some up every 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm cycling the empty brood comb upstairs down to the brood box and taking more cat brood and bringing it back up. So she continuously has a place to lay. Now, one thing
But
I
she
did
probably
learn-
already would have a place to lay, but you doing that just to get rid of the bees, right?
I'm
more or
doing that.
less.
I'm giving her more places to lay. Something that Paul Kelly states, and I sat down last year. I did the math. I counted all the cells across the frames and down the frames and the rows, and I had a complete mathematical equation here that there were so many thousand cells that were available for her to lay, and took 10% or 15% for some thank you, Sandy, for a little bit of nectar, 10 or 15% for some drone comb, and a little bit of pollen in there. And now I'm running 2 mediums as my brood chamber, which actually I have more room than what a 10 frame deep has. And you know, the theory behind it is that the bees are going to hatch out before she runs out of room, and she'll just, you know, it's going to be a continuous cycle of hatching out, and she keeps laying and hatching out, and it didn't work as far as you know, I literally, it didn't work. That mathematic, the bees, we might know about the math part of it, but the bees didn't know, unless I'm doing something wrong. That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, did Paul Kelly say anything in his presentation that you see, like you didn't already know, like any epiphanies or anything? Did you have a takeaway from it, or?
The only thing that he had a chart up there, and I was going to take a picture of it, and he moved the slide faster than I thought, is that he had a graph of how much the queen was laying, and then as she started to diminish. And of course, you know, you got something I learned with talking with Ian and Brad and all the folks up in Canada. Their honey season starts later than our honey season. Ours start in April. Theirs start, I think it's late May, early June is when they start. And it's a very short season because of their environment. And I'm looking at the chart, and they're going up. Well, here's June 21st, the summer socialist, whatever you pronounce it. And I'm like, well, no wonder. There's, you know, I've seen it in my own hives. You get out there after the 21st, you can start looking at the queen and how much she's laying up, and she starts to diminish in laying. And it's like, okay, I don't need to go into this hive anymore. I don't have to worry about swarming because she's not going to run out of room because she's slowing down because of the sunlight hours are starting to go the opposite way as far as less hours per day. And that's the only thing I really got out of it. And all that kind of confirmed what I thought, you know.
You're doing things right? So
yeah. But I asked Ian one time about that, and he says, you know, if it works for you, then do it. You know, what works for me might not work for you. And it's the same thing I was just saying here minutes ago about mite control. My mite treatment program is not going to work for Tim and Hannah because of their environment. Or maybe Joey's the same way, you know, because of his environment. My mite treatment program will probably work for Carl because he's north of me about 2 hours.
I'm going to adopt some principles of your mite treatment.
Well, then also, Darren, you should, you're in an area where I think my mite program would work. I think your honey season's April, May, and June, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
I don't really have a fall flow here. I don't count on a fall flow, never have. And I feed my bees sugar water in the fall and all that. I don't do any feeding in the spring, but it's and then if I like Brian from Castle Highs, he lives in Ohio, and I have found listening to them and Brian himself talking about the weather conditions, and we seem to be on the same parallel of the same type of weather is coming to their state as it is in Maryland. And of course, it also depends on where you're located. Like in Pennsylvania, it's a much bigger state. You have Western PA versus Southeastern Pennsylvania, versus Northeastern Pennsylvania, which is a lot of different climates there. You're in more of a mountainous area of Pennsylvania. I think Carl is.
I'm in the Northeast.
Yeah. What would you say? Foothills, Carl?
Yeah, we're up there. We're right on the base and New York border, you might as well say. I mean, I could jump in the car in 45 minutes, be at the border, so it's not a far ride. I'm on that edge where it could be really, really damn cold, or you could breeze by. You don't know. Year in, year out, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So but yet you get a little warmer than I do, so you get away with a little more. So, I have to watch, because a good year I can get away with a mild winter. The next year I can get hammered. I could have 45, 50 days where I'm not above freezing. And that's how it is, Or I'll have 20 days below freezing, and then 5 days where it's 35, 38 degrees. And then I'll have 15, 20 days where I'm below freezing again. So, which isn't a problem. I'd rather if it was cold than if it was the roller coaster we're going through right now. So, I mean, it's going to be 55 degrees tonight. Northeastern PA. It should be 55 degrees in the middle of January.
Right. It's 45 right here. My computer says it's 45 right now. Today wasn't too, it was you could feel the dampness in the air, but it wasn't super cold. Yesterday was a little bit warmer. I actually put a pollen bucket out, and the girls, was not able to get up there to watch them or anything too much. There was a small amount of bees flying that day. I was more so looking at the entrances of the hive, see who was flying, who wasn't. Some hives were more populated at the entrance than others, but all of them pretty much had bees flying in and out. I think it was right at 50 degrees. It was right on the edge of whether they were going to fly or not. I had one with this new wrap that it's got a wrap a lady gave to me to make a video about. She's in our club, and it is nylon anti-rip material with the what's it called? The insulated flex board or flex. The silver stuff that.
Yeah, I tried to
the bubble. Well, anyway, it's
a
minimal insulation. Anyway, it wraps around the body of the hive, and they weren't really flying that much. But I'm also thinking
Reflectix.
Reflectec. I'm thinking, okay, they have been shielded away from the wind and whatever, and the cold a little bit more. So they, it's like people with Apame hives. They don't come out of them hives. Those bees, it takes a while for those bees to know what's happening outside in the environment outside. So they don't come out of the hive flying around like a bee does in a wooden hive.
I think they come out when they want to come out.
Well, I've got
last Sunday, 13 inches of snow last Sunday. I went out there because I have them up off the ground a little bit, but 13 inches of snow. We went out there to broom the fronts a little bit, just make sure they were clear. We were opening the fence up, and there was bees coming out and doing around and going back in. 28 degrees, windy out, bees coming out, flying quick and going right back in. Watch the numerous hives. Pulling the snow back just a little bit. Most of them were fine. A couple of them, it's a good thing we did. But you know what? A week later, we have no snow. It's
there's Doug from Longman Acres up in Canada. There, it's 51. Jealous. It's 51 degrees up there. At here, I guess is the way I'm reading, and then it's a negative 30 C with a wind chill of a negative 51. Which I know by my chart here, my chart only goes down to a negative 30, which is a negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's probably negative 30 or 40 Fahrenheit and that's cold. That's he puts his hives together. He doesn't put them in a bee barn, and then they wrap wrappings around it with insulation wrap around it.
Well, I'm
And,
colder here. I'm colder here in my location than you guys are. Carl, you're up 50 degrees. I'm 40, 35.
No,
40.
it's going to be 50. Like right now, it's like 45, 46 now. But they said like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, it's going to be 55 degrees here. Now,
Yeah.
tomorrow night, it's going to be 10.
Yeah, that's what's happening here too. That there's like some
Yeah,
kind
so-
of a clipper
yeah.
coming down through. I think they said.
And that's what laid a beating on me last year was we had those. Well, everybody on the screen had those 2 cold spells. You know, one day it was 50 degrees, the next day it was 10 degrees, the next day it was negative 10. You know, the bees didn't cluster back up properly. So I'm just hoping that they, being it's only going to go down to, you know, maybe 10, 15 degrees tomorrow night. I think over the daytime it's supposed to start chilling. So I hope the bees have time to cluster up properly so they're not spread all over the hive and, you know, freeze out that way. I mean, I had 2 hives last year. There were wall-to-wall bees, plenty of food in there and everything else. And I'm opening them up and they're all dead. And you start looking and they're wall-to-wall bees because it got so cold so quick, it just froze them out. They didn't get a chance to cluster.
Right.
You know, so.
Well, there's right here. He's talking about the sensors show that the interior temperature on the insulated versus the non-insulated are the same, but the uninsulated are losing more weight. Well, they're eating more in order to try to generate their wing muscles to generate heat to keep things going. And all.
It's supposed
Thanks,
to be 28 here tomorrow.
All right, it's 46 or 45 right here, Carl. Same as yours.
Yeah, that's what we're about right now.
But
By the way, Charlie, not to change the
45
subject.
here.
what's that, Brian or Darren?
I just not to change the topic, but I just want to tell you your honey is excellent. Like there's something about your honey. I hate to admit it. Nobody wants to admit when somebody else has better honey than they do, but your honey has a flavor. I can't identify it, but I like it. I'm not one of those people who can sit around and eat honey all day long, but I couldn't stop eating it.
Well, when it comes
honey tastes just like honey did when I was a kid here at home in Louisiana. That's the way it used to taste. That's exactly how our honey used to taste.
You talking about Charlie's honey?
Charlie's honey.
Yeah, I know. It has a flavor to it that's really nice.
The
And,
texture and everything.
Yeah.
it's the only thing I can say, it's got poplar trees and locust trees in it. Mostly, I think a higher locust tree content, which is a lot more sweeter. And I'll get it to where I'll take a spoon as it's coming out of the extractor when it's, you know, the brand, the new stuff, and just give it a taste. And I'm like, man, I said, that's like cotton candy coming out of there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it looks good. You know, now some years, last year, mine was a little on the darker side and maybe a little bit more poplar in it. And then this year it was a much more lighter honey and everything, which I like better. But, yeah, well, thanks, Joey. I know that you told me that at the conference and all, that was good to hear that. And hear now Darren's backing you up on how good the honey is.
Yeah, it's good.
No, somebody made a comment last night, Charlie, too, about your honey, that they enjoyed it. Right? I was listening in. I heard somebody make a comment on that. So
I think might have been Ricky. I'm not sure.
Did you
it may have
submit that
been.
to Gunline's honey contest? I don't know if you did. Or not. Did you submit that to Gunline?
No, I didn't. No, I kind of missed that.
Yeah.
We'll have to do
You
that
could
next
probably
time.
win it.
There's always this year, Charlie, for the unofficial official.
Okay.
That's what
Second
we did
annual.
this year.
Yeah.
Oh, that was Weaver. Dan Weaver won that. He won that with his real clear black locust honey, I think, right?
No, actually, because I thought, like, I'm not even gonna lie, I really thought his black locust honey was gonna win, but it was his
The
spring wildflower honey.
Oh, okay. All right.
Y'all, that black locust, man, that stuff was
Oh
just
my
clear.
God.
It looked like water. I thought that was a joke at first when I saw that.
Yeah, now
No.
there's a guy in our club that his hives are amongst this grove of locust trees. And he had it on his sale table at a farmer's market. And the guy said, "What is this, a joke?" You know, he says that it looks like sugar water, that it looked like water that was kind of cloudy looking, where he mixed up a
Mhm.
bunch of sugar water. He says, "No," he said, "I don't know what it is, but," and I didn't get to taste it. He didn't have anything open to taste. And I think it's pure locust is what I really think it is. And all.
Mm.
And mine's locust with a little poplar or something in there.
Mm, I don't know, but that stuff was unbelievable.
Good stuff.
It really was.
And here's Frank here. He's going to fifth it in that my stuff is good tasting. But yeah, but Darren, tell me about, I mean, this is interesting that there was that many people talking about me as far as the chats or videos or whatever.
Almost every conversation I had, because like I said, like I met more people, like not more just people, random people I didn't know than I did know lifers. So I was sitting in a presentation, or I was sitting like waiting for the shuttle. I ended up waiting for a shuttle for an hour. That's one of the downfalls to taking a shuttle. But I talked to some people there, and then talked to a lot of people in the lounge at the hotel. And every conversation was Charlie's Sawmill Charlie came up in the conversation, and the people who like didn't know Sawmill Charlie, like they were like, okay, we're gonna check that out, because they realized that that's where like a lot of this community kind of like originated from you, and and so yeah, I was hoping to see that you'd get kind of a bump on the subscriptions. I hope that some of those people show up, because I met a lot of really nice people that I think they'd be good people to have.
Well, to me, it's quite it kind of amazes me that I have that much, or I have touched that many people.
More than you think.
More than I think, and that I've I don't know, been a positive influence, I'll say, to other beekeepers, maybe, because of my videos or something like that, or because we have a great bunch of talks here on Friday nights. I mean, even more so during the summer when we have bees to talk about and what we found in our hives and things of that nature. It's a little harder to talk about bees in the winter because we can't really get into them and all that. But I did have, about as far as talking to them and getting into them, I have this one hive that it was me almost killing them through treatment, because I forgot to take the front entrance reducer off when I put Formic Pro on them. But I saved them. The queen was fine. She made it and all that. Thanks, Ian. I'd love to do that. But I've been petting them along, as I would say, to keep them alive and hopefully get them through the winter. And they're behind my hay barn, so the barn gives it a windbreak. I don't have them insulated, just in a regular deep box, 5-frame deep box. And I fed them sugar water with Apis Biologic in it. And then, they were growing. She was still laying here a month or two ago. And I put a shim on, and I said, well, I got some sugar bricks left over from last spring, as far as keeping the nukes alive. So I put the sugar bricks on that shim. And then here lately, I had some pollen powder from Man Lake, and I took a scoop of that with my hive tool and sprinkled that on some of the bricks and on top of the frames and stuff. So I went in there a couple of days ago where it wasn't overly warm, but it was just good enough to where I could take the lid off and look down through the escape hole in the inner cover. And they were all crawling around inside there. And of course, they still had some sugar left and pollen and stuff left. I said, okay, you're doing great. just closed them back up, and I have their entrance down to where it's about 3/8 of an inch wide and 3/8 tall, just enough for about one bee or so to get in there, maybe two bees to get by. And then, and all that. That's a positive note that actually I'm getting this really super weak hive through the winter, and it's pretty darn cold out and all that. So, but no, Darren, I just kind of blows me away that many people are talking about me.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. I just want to say one thing about like the whole conference thing though, and like somebody mentioned it last night about making like a time to meet, because I wandered around there like thinking I was gonna like meet people, and it's not like that. Like you don't go there and just start walking around and just meeting. There's so many people there. I would have loved to have like had like a location and a time that we were all going to meet and get together, because I missed out on a lot of meeting a lot of people, a lot of the no-lifers, and I think we need to do something like that for next year. Just like, because I plan on going next year, especially if it's in the same location. I'll go to the same hotel. I liked that hotel. Everything was convenient. I just think there's like more like, I don't know, like an effort to like, I don't know, like a meeting effort, like everybody like.
Well, they talked about that on Ricky's show last night, and I think it would be wonderful that maybe all of us can talk to Cayman and say, hey, I don't know, maybe take have a small room off the side, real small room where, all right, at this time the no life beekeepers are going to gather here, or maybe we can use the dining area where it was in the trade show area, where every time I looked in there was nobody there. Now I did see some pictures where when the lunch break was going on, there was a lot of folks in that area there taking lunch and all that. I was out in the car eating. I brought my own lunch. I'm not paying $5 for a 16-ounce Coke.
I don't know how much a hot dog was. I heard it was like $8 or something.
It was $6 for a naked hot dog, and I'm sorry, but that's just way too darn much.
I didn't eat the whole time I was there because I wasn't paying that. I was being cheap. I'm on a special diet too. Like there wasn't anything there that I could eat, so I starved.
Well, I ate. The first night was a Mexican restaurant where Ricky Rourke had planned that. And then the rest of the time I ate at Cracker Barrel. And then I also, the hotel had a restaurant. I did eat a few times breakfast there, and which was convenient. And all that. So that's what I did at the conference. And then go around and buy a bunch of stuff and all, and then meet people. And, let's see. I had to sign Joey's hat. So that was one of my autographs I signed. And then I had the other autograph that I did 2 autographs. I did one for Joey's hat, and I did the other one, which would just surprise me that he wanted me to sign his coffee mug, one of them ones, the big tall ones, that you have a lid on it and it insulated and all. And that was Seth Hill, who works for Bob Benny. And I'm like, really? And that was one of the guys that I met that, hey, we watch you too. Of course I'm watching when he does put out a video and all that, but I got to meet him and we became friends and exchanged contact information and stuff. And Ashby Miller, who's Ashby Farms down in Raleigh, North Carolina, another up and coming commercial beekeeper. We met and exchanged contact information there. I was telling him about Apis, and I said, would help him out and his when he sells nukes and things. So he was really interested in that. And then both Seth and I didn't talk to Ashby, but I'm going to try to get both of those guys on here on the Friday night chat in the near future as guest speakers. And then everybody else can come on ask them questions or they can explain what they're doing. I know Steph, he's growing his bee business and he sells bees. He's not in the honey business. He's in the bee business, and he sells to, he sells whole 10 frame box of, not nukes, but regular full size hive boxes of bees is what his model is. And he's, migratory on top of that with these bees. And then, Ashby he's got about 500 or 600 hives from what I gather. That's what he told me. And then I watch these videos, and he does 5 frame nukes, and he does honey production, and then all a bunch of other stuff. He builds his own boxes and things like that. So we'll get him on here and let him talk and tell us all about his operation. And that's, a lot of folks, they're commercial. I said, well, there's always something you can learn from another beekeeper. He might have a technique that you can use and apply to your bees and stuff like that and all. So
Probably half of what I've learned come from commercial guys.
Is that right? Well, that's
Pretty much
what I've always kind of followed. And I also, belong to a lot of bee clubs. And people say, well, you're traveling to 4 or 5 different bee clubs. I said, well, usually I'll say 90% of the time when I go see a speaker at the time, that I would always come out with a little nugget or two of information that I could put into my virtual beekeeping toolbox and utilize it to help me maintain my hives and be self-sufficient, sustainable, and keeping my bees alive and all. So
That's what I look for every night that you guys are on. Whether I'm in here or not, just listening here and there, doing other things. Catch one little thing that might help you. Because as it always goes and says, it may work great for you, but garbage to me. But until you try it, who knows how it's going to work out for you. And there's been quite a bit of things just on the chats that panned out for me. I can tell you that much. I mean, it really has turned out good. So more good than bad. I could say that much. So
and you can introduce your bee helper there.
say hi.
Haley.
Yep. We have a name.
Haley.
Haley. Okay.
She's starting to hold frames and play with them a little bit and mess around.
Well, that's good. There you go. How old are you, Haley?
8.
You're 8. Okay. Well, you're good enough. I started driving tractors back then when I was 8.
Driving the golf cart around.
Huh?
She drives
a golf cart. See there? When
Yep.
she's ready to get her license, she'll know all about it.
Oh yeah.
She'll pass that driver's test. No problem at all.
Yep. And Daddy be paying speeding tickets. I could see that already.
Yeah. Well, all young people like to go fast.
Okay. Say good night.
Good night.
Later.
Hi, Haley.
Good night.
All right. See you now.
Yeah, she saw Hannah, so that was it.
Oh, Hannah's
Yep.
got a friend, a fan.
I just have a friend.
Yep.
Mm.
Saw Hannah. Tim, forget it. You're no good. Don't worry about it. Hannah, you're buddy. That's it. So
Yeah. Well, hey, I'll love her to death too. I'm glad
All right.
to hear she's into beekeeping though. Like that's awesome that she's out there with you doing it.
yeah, it takes her 15 minutes to get dressed, and then she's in there for about 10, 15 minutes, and then the attention wears off a little bit, and I'm gone. She gets to hold her
Yeah.
frame. You show me a queen. I want to watch the queen walk around for a little bit. Here you go. Here's the frame back. All right, I'm going back. See you later.
Well,
Mother.
everybody starts somewhere. That's baby steps.
That's
But
all right.
either
It's
way-
good.
Well, the thing of it is, at least she's holding that frame.
Yep.
She's got enough interest there to watch the queen, and that's a
Yeah.
start. Instead of having a child come in, and run all the time, or not even want to come in and do any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And now just putting this up, Lisa says that next year, if everything goes like we would think it goes, where we're going to go back to the same place, it'll be January the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I'm hoping that Cayman will go actually full 3 days, and instead of doing a 2.5 days.
Well, Lisa, I hope to meet you next year because I was looking for you, and I was looking for a lot of people that I I didn't see. I was having an issue. I like when it comes to Lisa, I picked out like 3 or 4 different people out of the crowd, and I thought that's got to be Lisa. I know that's Lisa, but I wasn't sure enough to go up and say anything to her. And in hindsight, like when you guys did that group photo, I was looking at the photo and I thought, well, Lisa's taller. I think Lisa's tall. You seem kind of tall, Lisa. And I thought all those women were much shorter than Lisa, so none of them were Lisa. But it's hard. It's different. When you see people on video, you think you know what they look like, and then you see them in real life, and then like they don't look like they do on video. Like Joseph.
Well, you did. I picked
Joey
you right out.
Yeah, and Charlie, I picked you out, but like some people, I like.
Had my hat
You know
on.
what? They didn't pick me out too well because I was wearing a ball cap with my Sawmill Charlie emblem on the front. And they're used to seeing me with no hat, so maybe that's what I have to do.
Well, I picked you out real quick,
but yeah, Clay Burner said Natalie started when she was 8 years old. What I was going to say about that with Carl's daughter and stuff is that one of the speakers was Mel. What's her first name? Melbreath is her last one of the Megan Melbreath, I think it is. She's PhD. She's out from the Midwest. I'll say Illinois, somewhere's in that area. And anyway, I had met her pre-COVID. I'll say 5 or 6 years ago at a local bee club here in Westchester, PA. There was a conference. They used to have a live conference. Now they went to video, and I just can't get into that. But anyway, she started talking, and she was talking about transitioning from, let's say, a sideliner with the equipment and transitioning to commercial, doing pallets, getting rid of the bottom boards, making sure you get rid of the telescoping covers, the inner covers, stuff that commercial guys don't use because the way they have everything fit on a pallet. And she kept talking. I'm going to say it wasn't 5 minutes after her talk started, and I'm thinking to myself, this girl, she didn't learn this stuff out of a book. She's lived this stuff because I can just tell the way she's talking about it. And sure enough, here come another picture up of her when she's about 10 years old. Her father took one of them old aluminum hard helmets that a construction worker would wear, put the veil over top of it, with a square face, like Bob Benny would wear occasionally here on the videos. And she started out in the bee yard when she was 10 years old, and they probably had 100 hives or more at the time. And she grew up around it, and she knew about that stuff. Now she's took that experience and information, went to college, became a PhD, became an extension agent for the local area out there. And now she's also, a professor, I think, at the local college or whatever, and teaching and things of that nature. So, when you start out young like that, you got a skill that you're developing that could be useful down later in life. We have a young beekeepers grant program in our club here, just kind of like Cayman. We accept, I don't know, let's say 3 or 4 beekeepers a year. And several years ago, we had one young man.
Yeah.
He came in, got the experience as beekeeping. And even at that time, it was close to him graduating from high school, getting ready to go to college. Now he's University of Delaware in the entomology. And because of his beekeeping experience, Dr. Debbie Delaney, who is a prominent beekeeper scientist, and you'll see her on a lot of talk shows and speakers and stuff like that. He was asked by her to help in the beekeeping experimental yard at that college and stuff. So that's that young, starting out young and learning how to do a skill like beekeeping can help you along later in life at the college level. So anyway, that's what's happening with that young man. He's going to be actually speaking at our club here in a couple months, telling him what he's been doing and in his educational process and stuff. So Morgan, welcome.
Hey, a little late, but I'm here.
Yeah, that's good. So what's happening where are you located at, Morgan?
Indianapolis.
That's right. I asked you, I think last night, the same thing.
It's going to get cold here.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you what the weather's like out there.
Right now, we're a little above freezing, and then tomorrow's supposed to be about in the 20s, and then by Tuesday, we're going to be lucky to hit 10 degrees.
Mm.
I'm going to be staying in the truck at work as much as I can.
Well, 10 degrees with a lot of winds, not the greatest either.
No.
But my cream honey's starting to take off. People are seeing it. People are curious about it. Other people say, "Oh, I haven't seen that in years," and
It looks
That's
good.
good.
thank you.
I think, in this chat here with Brian from Flower Street and Carl here does a bang up job of selling in his area. He's got all kinds of flavors. And I think to me, I'm saying through our channels and talks that it's starting to make a comeback, and because of us educating the public, and then once they taste it, where they're hooked.
Oh yeah, my grandson calls it honey icing.
Yep.
Yeah, all that talk's got me wanting to do it again.
I call it legal cocaine.
And
That's what
I had
it.
somebody on Facebook ask me if I used the Spanish molcajete, which is the bowl with the
mortar,
that
brick
one.
mortar.
Yeah.
Pestle.
Yeah.
But all I did was I had some that was, kind of pasty, but it was still honey, but you could see the grains in it real good. And I put it in a bowl and took a hand mixer and just mixed it up a bunch of different times until it got smooth. That's what I did. That's how I did the starter, I guess you'd call it.
Well, I did that, Morgan. The first time I did it, I was sat there with the pestle about 15 minutes, and I went, "Screw this!" I went and bought some, and I started from that seed. And ever since then, every time I make a batch, I save 25 pounds.
Oh,
And
you
that
make
way,
bigger batches than I do.
Yeah. Every time I just keep 25 pounds at least, and then I keep on rotating it back in.
But now, Carl, when you started out in the beginning, did you buy your seed?
That's what I was just saying. I started with some crystallized, and with the mortar, I was going to do it just because I like going back to the basics and that. And
after that,
I sat there for 15 minutes or so, and I said, "The hell with this."
I did that.
So then, what did you do? Go buy?
I went and I bought, I think, 6 pounds because I was doing a 5-gallon pail by hand at that time, and I bought 5 or 6 pounds, I think it was. But when I get done with that one, I saved like 10 pounds. Because I was like, all right, I'm not going to be buying it. At least this way it's my honey. So then as I grew, I kept on. I have a 2-gallon pails brand new downstairs that when I make it, each one of the honey machines, I actually take one off each one. I have about a pail and a half right now. Next year, I'll keep 2 of them at least in that. Plus, I learned my lesson this year. I made... when I made my fall honey, I think it was 100 pounds of the apple cinnamon, and because it was selling so good. And now at this time of year now, I'm like, all right, I still have like 60 bottles. And I should have just left it in the creamed honey in the Lyson where I could have warmed it up so I could remix it and then flavor it from there. So I learned my lesson. Next year, I will leave the Lyson full of creamed honey. If I have to warm it to mix it, remix it, and split it, I'll split it and do it in smaller batches so that I sell. Because now another thing was I had a 5-gallon pail of chocolate honey that I mixed up. I swear nobody wanted that stuff.
Yeah.
We went.
Well, I
we
know
went on
that.
Christmas. We went to Chris at a show right before Christmas, and we took the 20-some bottles of chocolate. We could have sold another 40 bottles. It's you just never know. So
Hit or miss, huh?
Yeah, you learn. You keep on playing with it and that, you know.
So far, all I got is just straight creamed honey. I haven't tried adding any flavors yet.
Morgan, what kind of honey are you using to get that white color? Because I'm using alfalfa to get that.
I live in town here in Indianapolis. I don't have. I mean, it's just whatever the bees are bringing in. I got so much variety of different things. Like we got the honeysuckle, the locust trees, and then what everybody's got in their gardens, melons, cucumbers, whatever they're getting into, because it's not like I got something I can say this is clover honey. It's just
right.
A conglomerate. But it seemed this year all my honey was light.
Never.
Yeah. Well, Morgan, you said you live in Indianapolis, right? Indianapolis, Indiana.
Right.
Isn't that where what is it? Little Bits of Honey, I think it is.
I'm not sure.
Figure what his real name is. He hasn't been on the.
He's down there, down south.
Joe May, yeah. Doesn't he live in that area
Joe
there?
May.
There's a few. Sarah lives here in Indiana, and she was talking about somebody else that I didn't get to catch the name the other night that lives here close by. But yeah, there's a few, and then like I said, the guy I get my queens off of, he's down in Greensburg. It's Tree City Bees. They call that Tree City because the courthouse has a tree growing out of the roof.
But no, I was wondering. I hadn't heard nothing on him on the internet or anything like that, or as far as YouTube goes.
I saw a guy down there, Charlie, that looked like Joe May, though. I almost wanted to approach him, see if it was really Joe May, but I don't know if it was or not.
I don't know. I know that he had some medical issues here a couple years ago.
Yeah, well, I think I'm gonna try to get to the Expo
Bruce
next
says
year.
that he's in Bloomington.
Who?
Joe May lives in he's in Bloomington, Indiana.
Yeah, that's an hour or so south of me, about an hour south of me, southwest.
Okay. I know that I Googled him with the satellite vision, and he's like right in the middle of town. I'm surprised at the amount of hives that he had that nobody complained, because there's like a apartment housing complex right next door to him.
Right.
And all that stuff.
Like I said, I just got a small yard. I got 4 hives. I'm not planning on getting any more than that. If they all make it through, I'll just sell whatever splits I get. If they don't, I'll keep what I need to and sell the rest.
Well, I know that Brian, I ate supper with him a couple times, and we would always, get together at the show there at the trade area. And Man Lake was supposed to have a bunch of glass for him, and they didn't show up. And there's a big deer.
Is that yours, Morgan?
Yes.
Is that yours, Morgan?
I believe so.
I'm sitting here spying on you.
And
my cat yelled at you.
So anyway, he had room, and I think Brian bought a second creamer tank, you know, that fits the water jacketed tank from License, I believe it was. He actually went home. He's kind of like you, Carl. Now he's got separate units for different flavors and stuff.
Yep.
So I think he's scaling up, you know.
The Hilco one, I like the way the Hilco one mixes. It definitely mixes better than the Lyson.
Really?
It
Okay.
definitely does. The pitches on the paddles have a better pitch, and it definitely mixes better. Like I said though, but that one there I will use for when I'm finishing. But the Lyson from now on, I'm going to keep that for just mixing my cream, because that way I can leave it in the tank sealed up, and I could, you know, warm it a little bit and take it off and put it in the other tank or one of my other tanks and mix smaller batches and that. But the Maxon, if somebody wants a cheap creamer with the bottling, you know, if you're not worried about heating, and now I'm sure that Hilco will sooner or later get the heated tank too. But I mean, the price tag I think was what, $1,180 for a creaming attachment and that, and it does 24 gallons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's.
I didn't get 24 gallons of honey all year for everything. So
Yeah, with you, Morgan, with you have 4 hives and you're happy with that. So, I mean, you could go a smaller scale, you know, in the pails and stuff like that, and buy the stainless auger to mix it in that. But anybody else, if you're looking for something for a bottling tank, you're not worried about warming it and that, you get best of both worlds. You got a creaming machine and you got a bottling tank with the one drip valve, like Charlie calls it, or everybody calls it, because that's definitely the truth. It definitely has one drip on it, you know, not horrible, but I mean, otherwise construction, I have no issue with it.
I'm going to try something this year. I haven't got it out of the box yet, but I ordered it's called a Digiboil. It's made for brewing, but it's got a temperature thing you can set, you know, a lot higher than what we need to for bottling honey, of course. But you can set it like 90, 95, or anywhere from way down cold to up to boil. And it's got a spout on it at the very bottom. So I'm going to put it in there so I can turn it on, and then it'll make it easier to put in those squeeze bottles, because it's got the squeeze bottle, got the smaller top, and I don't have to try to not get too much coming out of the honey gate to where it flows down the side of the bottle.
Yeah, in DC, and a lot of folks are. There was a lot of folks buying the automatic fill pump and all that.
Charlie, what was the price tag on that? Do you know?
I think Hilco wanted $700.
Well, it ain't too bad, but honestly, if you have a bottling tank, you could sit there and fill a whole case in what, 5 minutes?
That I only do about 2 cases at a time. If I was doing like 100, something like that would be real nice.
Yeah, but would it pay for itself, Joe? I mean,
not in my beekeeping world.
That's what I mean. I mean, at some point, maybe for me, but
I
don't need something else mechanical that you have to worry about running.
I would have to agree with both of you there. I look at it this way also. You got to clean that thing.
That's what I just said, yeah.
So if you're bottling 3 or 4 cases a week, you know, or more, then I would say it might be worth it, you know. But if you're like me, here lately, I've been selling quite a bit of honey for my, you know, and I might bottle 15 pounds at a clip. Well, I can do that in about 5 minutes with my Maxant bottling tank. And all I got to do is, you know, jack it up on the scissors lift that's on. I got a 1 drip valve on it. And I sit there and bang, 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 and I'm done. And because, you know, you get used to, if it's a 1 pound bottle or 2 pound bottom, a 1 pound will go right up to the fill ring. A 2 pound that I'm using, you're about a ½ inch or so lower than the fill ring. And I measure all my stuff with a little cheap digital readout scale that I got off of Amazon, and I'm always within 0.2 of an ounce. I'll say it's usually 2 pounds 2/10, 2 pounds 1/10, and where I know I'm not overfilling. And
That's what Ian's talking about, is being over in it.
Yeah.
Did you guys? I don't know if you can see this.
That's
That
great.
Hilco at the Carl, did you see that, or Joey, or any of you know like this Hilco? It's a heated bottling tank. It's not the water jacketed one, and I almost bought that. And
take
It's got
put
your
that
water
back.
jacket.
Let me.
it doesn't have the water jacket. I don't know if you can. For
There it is.
$589. Then I remembered that I just put a bunch of money in my basement, and the bill didn't come yet, so I didn't buy it.
Yeah.
But
Now, what
Yeah.
what Ian's stating there is absolutely true.
Yeah.
If you're really packaging a tremendous amount, a tenth of an ounce here, and it all adds up, type of thing. But for what little bit I do, I don't think it would pay for itself. And then you got, what little I do, I don't do great amounts at one time and stuff like that. So I kind of fill to what sells.
I think I'll wait until I'm hitting that 5,000 pound range. If I hit that, if I ever
Oh, yeah.
do get to that point, if I ever get to that point, then I'll give it more concern.
If you're doing 5,000 pounds in
Yeah.
sales a year,
it'll
then
pay for
you're-
itself then.
you're putting out cases of honey a week, multiple cases.
Yeah.
What
Gentlemen,
size
we
was
gonna-
that bottling tank, Darren?
7 pounds, I believe. Does that sound right? Yeah. No, 7 gallons. 7 gallons. Yeah.
Ian, I'm still at the level where I like people, so if I give them a little overpour, no big deal. When I start getting into that 5,000 pound range, then I'll worry about it.
Yeah, and then like Jack says here, accuracy is a selling point, and it is,
Yeah.
and all. It just kind of you have to do a balance act there on what you're going to buy. It's just like with me and my Max M bottling tank. It's a 25 gallon, 300-pound tank that it holds, and I love it. It's heated, it's water jacketed, one drip valve on it. I got it set up to where it's easy on me as far as my back and shoulders and stuff. And now I kind of sit there and think, well, why didn't I buy this thing 10 years ago? But for years, I would sit there and I'll say a 16-gallon bottling tank was $1,200 at the time. And I'm like, and that was a lot of money. And, like some comments in the chat there stated, I don't sell that much honey yet, that amount of money type, where the bees would pay for it. And I would just use a 5-gallon bucket with a darn, what do you call it? Spigot on the
honey gate.
Yeah, the
honey
twist-
gate, regular
yeah.
honey gate, and it worked just fine for
It does.
years. And
I hated them honey gates.
I hate them too. I never liked them
Screws
either.
and-
But what I was getting, and then you talk about drip, and you're dripping a lot. But now it's a situation where I have a lot of honey coming in, and I'm trying to keep it from crystallizing. So now my 25-gallon bottling tank becomes a storage tank to keep the most amount of honey from crystallizing, and it also is convenient to fill bottles. And then I have a warming box for buckets, and I'm constantly rotating, from bucket just sitting on the floor to the bucket going into the warming tank, from the warming tank going into the bottling tank to keep it filled up. I got to put another bucket in there right now. It's ready to, put another bucket in and fill. So it's how, it's all boils down to how big your operation is and you're scaling up and all that. If I'd have bought that 25-gallon tank years ago, I probably could have I'm pretty sure I could have put my whole crop in the whole thing at one time. That'd have been, that's all I got is that what's in there, and that's it. Now
You'll save enough just with that bottling tank in probably 2 years, even small scale. You'll save enough over spills and on the counter and on the floor. My first year, my living room kitchen was like a track meet here. It was like you didn't even need shoes. You could stick to the floor. And because, you get a drip here, a drip there, and it starts with kids, you start tracking it around and everything else. That bottling tank the next year was like, wow, I was a moron last year. Now, don't get me wrong. I still every once in a while have that honey gate for a small amount of creamed honey that I'll be spilling. I still do that once in a while, but the rest of it goes right through those bottling tanks.
Well, it works. It works pretty good with creamed honey.
Yeah, yeah.
Your honey
Does
cake
that
don't
come
work
through
too
that
bad
pretty
with
good?
cream.
Because
But if I'm making a small batch, Joe, trying something, then I'll just do it in the 5-gallon pail. Say I want to do maybe 20 pounds to play with and try some different flavors or something. Then I use the honey gate. That's the only time I ever use it. Otherwise, it's all going through the tanks anymore because you will save so much time just in cleanup. If you haven't used one, find a beekeeper and go watch them use it and try filling a couple bottles. You'll probably sit there and go, you know what? It's going to suck to spend the money, but it's worth every dime.
Okay, but I have a question about it.
I've got an 18-gallon already.
What you want to say, Darren?
Is the water jacketed really that much better than like just the heating element, like the one I was looking at?
Yes, I think it is. I think because you got the water on the bottom, you got the water on the side. It's a much more even heat of your honey. You don't have everything. If that warming element, electric element, is on the bottom of the tank, all the heat is you're frying the bottom of the honey on the bottom all the time. Whereas, I don't know. Do you have hot water baseboard heat in your house?
We don't. No, I know what you're getting at, though.
Yeah, well, it's a more even heat when you have that water where it's gradual and all, and I go with the water jacketed unit. I would do it that way and all.
So because I'm pretty new to all.
Yeah,
this,
I've got
I
got Hill Cove. I call it 18. It's 19-gallon.
Is it water jacketed, Joseph?
I'm sorry, Morgan.
Is it water jacketed?
Yeah,
or
mine is.
Yeah. Okay. Morgan,
you know what the other thing is, Darren? You're contemplating that. If you listen and you watch a lot of videos like all of us here do, if you watch Bob Binney, if you watch Ian, they talk about buying that piece of equipment. They hate to do it. Then they pull the trigger and they do it. And they're always saying, oh, I wish I would have done it 2 years earlier. That's one of the things, like I spent a lot more money on equipment over the last 2 years than I wanted to, and I'm paying for it now. I almost have it all paid off. That's one of the reasons I didn't go to Knob, because I'd be in the red so far that I'd be shot, So, but in the long run, it saved me so much time and aggravation. Don't be scared to do it.
But the thing of it is, Carl, from
I almost went. Yeah, you all.
Yeah. Jack says the 26-gallon is great. I said I love it too.
Yeah,
it's a Max Ant. I got the Max Ant, and of course, I think Brad, or Carl, you just stated that you got a Max Ant too, like mine.
Yeah, that was the first one I got. I got it used out of Jersey. I bought it with a whole package of stuff and that, and I got the trough for holding the frames. It holds. The trough I got, it was an old guy that retired and passed away. His son sold it to me. He just wanted to get rid of it because he was in the excavation business. I got a 60-frame Maxent extractor. I have the trough that holds probably 50 to 60 frames. I have the chain uncapper I bought. I bought that bottling tank. And there was a 10-frame belly extractor, which I've never seen one before. I have it in my warehouse up on the shelf. I'm going to pull that down and play with it sometime. I bought all that equipment for $1,500. I went down with my pickup truck, and if I don't know how I didn't get pulled over coming back.
How in the world did you get a 60-frame extractor?
It was all part of that package I got for $1,500.
No, I'm talking about getting it all in your truck.
Oh, I don't know if I took pictures of it. All I know is that the cab of the truck, I had stuff with straps. It was literally 7 foot high. We came from Jersey all the way to Northeast PA. It was an hour and 55-minute ride, and I was doing barely even 55 miles an hour, coming up 80. And I had people flying by me. I think I saw the middle finger about 26 times. And I just took my time, and I got home, and I remember my wife coming home from work, and she's going, "What the hell is all of that?"
Sanford and Son.
It's a lot of money and a lot of good equipment. So, but it was well worth the trip.
That was a great buy.
I just got lucky. I got completely lucky. I did on the chain on capper. I spent $600. Bought brand new chains for it. Both sets of chains for it. I completely ripped it right down to bare bones. I sandblasted it and cleaned it all. Repainted the whole thing. Redid the whole thing top to bottom. So I'll take it. I mean,
well, that's what I did when I first got into beekeeping. I was talking about, getting into it at McDonald's, and the guy said, well, my dad, he had emphysema, and he was getting sicker and sicker. And he wanted to, I got a Maxant 6-frame extractor or whatever it was, but it was motorized, 6 or 8 frame that they sell still today. It's a better basket in today than they did back then. And that, and I don't know, boxes and hive tools and smokers and this and that, and for like $800. And that's how I got started.
now that 60 frame extractor, Charlie,
yeah.
it's I have that on the top shelf in my warehouse on a pallet. It takes up a full pallet.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to disassemble it and have it repowder coated.
Is it old galvanized?
It's not galvanized. It's all stainless, but the inside, all the framing in that, all the paint came off it. So I'm gonna have to disassemble it and completely have it repowder coated if I get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So if it costs me, whatever, $1,000 to redo it, the motor, I'm not worried about it. I could either rebuild it or replace it. The everything's still available. I talked to them at Maxon. The leather, they have the gearing. You have the pulley and stuff like that for moving it, but you have the leather for the they call it a clutch. You could still buy
kind of like a tension wheel or something like that.
Yep. The leather clutch.
It's an old thing, but it works.
Yeah, I think they call it a clutch because I talked to them when I ordered the chains for the uncapping machine. They told me at Maxon that you could still buy the leather clutch, that they're not going to discontinue it, that they'll always have it because that was their original series for their commercial line and stuff like that. So,
well, you say you have a chain uncapper where it beats the
yep.
wax off?
Yep.
Is that where the one frame goes up and down like that?
Yep.
Yeah, that's about a $4,000 unit you got there.
Yep. It cost me $680 for the brand new chains, which was perfect because it came with brand new pillow blocks and everything. So I rebuilt the motor and like I said, I stripped it right down to bare bones, sanded everything down, repainting it. The bed and that was all stainless and that. So I, obviously I reused everything, but I put some money into it, but I know that if I want to sell it, I can get my money out of that alone.
You get more than what the whole darn unit package cost.
So,
but that's a good unit, and I know some different people that have them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess you're using that now, aren't you?
Yep. I actually want to build the one thing I do want to do is where it mounts on the table. I want to build slides so that I can adjust it easier.
Mm-hmm.
You're not
with that kind of unit. I think a senior. Well, that thing will actually, you could put that right on top of a senior wax spinner.
Okay.
And that would spin your wax out and get rid of your honey and all that too. So
that'll be my next, but I don't need that anytime soon.
Yeah. So, but that was a good deal for sure. And all that. But well, it's about 10:30 here Eastern Standard. I'm gonna go ahead and shut the stream down for the night. It was really fun tonight, and a lot of good conversations, a lot of good topics, and kind of revamp going over the North American Honeybee Expo and how everybody had a lot of fun. I'm still, like you say, like Tim and Hannes did, kind of pumped on it. For me, it was like it was a well-needed vacation, a good vacation that I could meet all my friends in person, go out to dinner with them, and things like that.
Where'd
And
you eat at?
we ate at the Cracker Barrel most of the nights, and then one night we went out to a Mexican restaurant that I guess Ricky and his wife picked out, and there was Joey was with us, and Darren, did you go or not, or did you come in later?
I wasn't there. No.
And all of us ones that got there early said, so there was about 30 of us at this restaurant, and the food was good, and they had several waitresses to take care of us, and they did a good job doing that, and it was fun. And then, like I said, we ate the Cracker Barrel pretty much the rest of the nights because it was convenient to the expo. I don't know, Darren, where you were at, was there any other type of eating places like that or in the area that you know of? There was some Mexican and some Italian, like sort of like I guess you would say subs and pizzerias and stuff like that, I think.
Yeah.
But
right across if you go back in Indiana, across the bridge, there's a good barbecue joint, Mission Barbecue. But you got to go across the bridge. That means you got to pay the toll.
Well, I'll tell you, I think that one night, Highs for Heroes, they were having something at that Mission Barbecue. If that might be the location. I heard it was a barbecue.
Yeah, I talked to one of the guys who was there. They filled the whole restaurant. There was no room for anybody else.
Yeah, I think there's a video on that. I think.
Is there?
I believe so.
And all that. So, all right. So that was what they went to that night. We went to the Cracker Barrel. Most of those folks went to that place, and we probably all couldn't have got in there anyway. But and all that. But like Lee said, there we didn't have to drive. All we had, we were staying at the hotel right next door. We just walked over. And stuff like that, and we had a good time.
Right in.
So, and all that, but
it sounds like my hotel down in Nashville, Tennessee. It's got the places to eat right next door, and the bar is right across the parking lot. Good to go.
Well, I mean, I talked to some other folks, and they say where we were at was not I'll say the best of areas per se, but there wasn't a lot of restaurants, restaurants to choose from what I know of. Of course, I didn't drive around. It was kind of confusing on how to get around that place, knowing the layout of the area. But anyway.
Seemed like anywhere you went, you had to make big old circles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, once I got to the hotel, I decided I'm just staying there, and I ate at the hotel every night. I wasn't going out to venture on those roads just to find a good, decent place to eat.
Right. Yeah,
you plan on going back again next year, Charlie?
Oh, I'm definitely going back. I mean, this one here was my third out of the fourth. I missed the first one because it was COVID. It was down there close to Nashville, where that's his first Hive Life convention, and it was his first vacation, and because of COVID. Some of the speakers couldn't show up because they were Ian was coming across border, which wasn't allowed. And there was a lot of folks where it was at a hotel where basically it was more of a Zoom meeting more so than anything else, from what I could tell from the videos. There was only 3 vendors. Ricky was one of them and 2 other vendors. I'm not sure who they were. So the next year, everybody had cabin fever, and he had moved it over to Sevierville, and that is a very tourism area. So if you get that's what I always did, was get there a day or two early and go around to Gatlinburg and all up through there and check out all the tourism type things. And then we would go to the conference, and that venue was good. And then the next year we rented the whole venue, and that was a good fun thing to do. And then this year, he outgrew that and went up to Kentucky, which I can understand why. I mean, logistics wise, first you have an airport that's a hub, so you can get direct big flights right into that town, where Knoxville, you didn't have that. There's plenty of hotels to stay at, and the convention center itself is big enough to hold 3,000 beekeepers. And it's been pretty much, he's been doubling in size every year. Every year is about another 50% more people are coming, and that venue can accommodate that for quite a few, for thousands and thousands of people. I just seen it on the internet here. I think in February, the big farm show is going to be out there. They have a lot of huge agricultural, all types of events out there in that place,
They're actually having,
because of the size and everything of it.
What was it? They're actually having another bee thing there.
I'm gonna get out of here, Charlie. I'll see y'all next time.
All right, Joe. So
Hey, Joe.
I'm gonna be checking out here quick. What is it, Morgan?
It says here in Louisville. I got a notification on Facebook.
Tim, you leaving?
Yes, sir. Y'all take it
Louisville
easy now.
Beekeeping and Research Conference by Apis Rescue is going to be January 27th at the same place from 9 to 6. It's a one-day event down there. It's a thing, Beekeeping Rescue and Research Conference by Apis Rescue, and it's going to be down there in Louisville too.
Yeah. All right, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and shut the chat down. It's been great. A lot of fun here tonight, talking with everybody on the screen, and all the different good information and comments in the chat bar off to the right-hand side here. So I'm going to go ahead and shut the live down.
Good night.
We will see you next Friday, same time, same place, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
All right, y'all have a good rest of the evening.